Hey everyone, and welcome to the eighth episode of the Yoni and Shimon show, the premier toolkit to getting ahead of investing and building within the crypto ecosystem. So today, again, for our eighth episode, we're going to be delving into DCBuilder's post on new proving methods and their future use cases. So, for example, we'll be covering topics like FHE, cryptographic primitives, and zero knowledge applications. So, Yoni, do you kind of want to just give an introduction on your internal thesis for these proving methods, where they stand now and where you think that they'll play in the next couple of months and years?
Yeah, I think in general, you can split the types of efforts that took place until now as building blockchains better, like building blockchains in a more easier way, having more block space, both in the modular and the integrated approaches. You know, the ability to spin up a rollup is improved a lot with all of the SDKs. You have components like like data availability that makes it easier to spin up a rollup, and then you have things like Polkadot SDK, Cosmos SDK, and things on the Ethereum land like Optimism and Arbitrum and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think the next kind of frontier is proofs. So I think with these new primitives, we will have a lot of applications that we will speak about, but you have two things. One is the technology that enable you to produce those proofs, and one is the types of those proofs. So one, you have FHE, MPC, that basically enable you to produce these proofs, and then you have a lot of new primitives that people built. Obviously ZK snarks,
Yeah.
and then you have a lot of types of use cases or sub primitives that people created, like ZK email, ZK login, TLS notary, proof of a personhood, and many other things that I want to discuss. So I think that will be the next kind of frontier, because that will enable a lot of use cases that were not possible until today, and will solve a lot of problems in the world of AI.
Yeah.
That AI is creating, like fake content and fake people. So
Yeah, I think we should dive right into that because, in my opinion, that's like the most front-facing challenge, which is identity. And obviously, there's a pretty big difference between how centralized organizations are dealing with identity now versus how we can, apply um, likely zero knowledge concepts to identity verification. What do you think are like the challenges and opportunities in that space? Like, I know that there's a lot of people working on it, like WorldCoin, etc., but they're not really using the these cryptographic proofs in the way that we're seeing other emerging firms using it. Do you think that a centralized entity should continue being the governor of identity, or you think it should be like decentralized?
so first, today there is two types more, but there is two types that people are using in the internet today. So you have the most popular method that's called the SSO. SSO is basically the ability to connect with one of the large internet providers like Google, Facebook, and so forth, and connect with that. Like their database is closed. So more than the risk that someone will cheat, what I'm thinking about is basically the inability to build on top of that.
Yeah.
So when you have attestations and open identity systems, then you can build stuff on top of that, like voting, like airdrops and stuff like that. And I don't want to even talk about the government issued identity, because it's not even something that is built for
Yeah, like we
the.
can't build on top of it ever.
Yeah, so if you're asking like what is the problem, you have two types of problems. One is that it will be that you'll know for sure that who you are facing is a human being. And right now it's not that obvious, because anyone can open a Google account, anyone can open a Twitter account, and there is a lot of bots. Doesn't matter what people are doing to stop it. There is still a lot of bots. And the second thing is that you cannot build on these things. So I think those are two kind of families of problems. And then you have, like both these methods to create proofs, like we said, MPC, a trusted execution environment, FHE, and a whole bunch of ZK stuff that enable people to create those proofs. But there is also a lot of primitives that that we should speak a lot about, that like ZK email, ZK login, TLS notary, and so forth, that are already working and people can build on top of.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I think specifically like the ZK space, and then also like the TLS notary, they have interesting progress right now. But do you think that what's kind of stopping them from being adopted by the mass communities, or do you think that this is going to be something that in the next 5 to 10 years people are going to be integrating, or on the back end, like with encrypted environments, the providers are going to be integrating for the users?
Yeah. So first, let's say, okay, so we can do it in two ways. One is to first cover the primitives and then cover use cases, or first cover use cases.
No, let's do primitives first, because then we can explain what it is.
Okay, so first, ZK email. ZK email is something that basically use ZK, enabling you to do two things. One is to create an identity through your email, meaning that instead of saving your private key, you are basically delegating your private key to Google, because Google is signing for you. And the second thing, you can use your email to prove certain things. So what interesting thing that can be, so one is you can have a wallet without holding any private key and recover the wallet through the email. But more exciting is that you can build applications based on that. So for example, you can build an insurance application that is airdropping to people that were liquidated, right? Like in Binance. Or you can create some kind of a members club for people that were used to work at CIA, so you can do a lot of things based on things that are common to people, like people that used to be at that university, that type of work, are victims of that and that. So you have a lot of use cases that enable you to send tokens and create applications that help the problem of these kind of people. Could be what unify people can be a lot of things. Could be religion, could be work, could be some kind of a hobby, could be victims of something, and so on. So I think that that primitive is super interesting, and you can go to the website of ZK email to see what people did with that. One thing that people did with it is called the ZK P2P. Is basically a way to do on-ramp and off-ramp in a very sophisticated way. Basically, there is Venmo, your Venmo name. You can prove that you have a certain amount of money in Venmo, and then you can trade these proofs with $100 on chain, or $1,000, and then it's like sending someone money in Venmo is sending you the $100. So really, there is a lot of things with that you can do with the ZK email. ZK login is basically the idea of using SSO of Web2 authentication, and and creating a private key as a result. This is something that is already adopted by SUI, but I think any blockchain will have it in the future. Basically, the ability to connect with your Web2 and having a Web3 identity, which on top of you can build, a lot of things. And then you have a TLS notary. TLS notary is basically the ability to, so TLS protocol is the protocol that prove things in the internet. And TLS notary is the ability to prove things on a website, to prove things on the website, and do things on top of that. That also a huge potential, because you can create. I really like the idea of airdrops. Like you can do a lot of. I think airdrops is massive. Like people, I think most reason why things getting value besides that they have legitimacy is the right type of distribution, and the airdrop is a very good way to distribute, and people it's not explored enough. And I feel like using TLS notary, I think someone can distribute tokens to websites owners based on things that happened in the website. You can create amazing things, like built based on that. Okay.
You also
by the way, if anyone,
okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I want to say, if anyone is building anything based on those primitives, feel free to reach out. And what do you wanted to say?
I wanted to talk about like coprocessors and specifically the implementation on EVM with things like snarks and other off-chain scaling solutions, because that seems to have died a little bit in the last cycle, but in my opinion, it's kind of seeing a revival now. Do you want to quickly, intro that and talk about where your thesis is in terms of that space as well?
Right, but let's first, so I want to get into coprocessor later, because I want to finish with the primitives that are related directly to identity. And then, because I think coprocessor is kind of a different applications, can be used for different things. But let's first speak about two more things: attestations and proof of personhood, and then let's go to
Sounds good.
Okay, so a proof of personhood. Proof of personhood is basically the ability to prove that you are a human being in the internet, that you're not a bot. And Vitalik wrote about it, a very nice post. And basically, he compares a few approaches. Basically, the approaches can be separated into two camps. One is peer attestation, if you will. People are
validating each other, right?
Vouching each other, exactly. And then the other thing is proof of biometric approach, which is mainly used by WorldCoin. So first, why this is important? I think to prove that one person, one vote, or this account is that person, is very important, because you can build things on top of that. You can build blockchains that are human-centric. You can do ticketing for only one people, ticketing for game, ticketing.
What about voting? Like, that's huge.
For sure.
Voting.
For sure. Raffles, raffles give one vote to one person, then you can win some kind of a lottery. So you can do a lot of things with having this ability. Right now, we don't have a lot of ways to do it. And so the approaches right now is, besides WorldCoin, you have approaches like Idena, that is kind of using captchas, and you have proof of humanity, and you have circles. So that's a proof of personhood. I think something like WorldCoin will probably prevail because it's very robust. I hope WorldCoin will have more competitors. I'm very surprised that they don't have a lot of competitors.
Yeah, it is weird. Do you think that, and sorry to go off on a tangent, do you think that they're going to be like replaced, or just that because like we talked about this, the tokenomics are not in favor of the holders, and I
Right.
don't think there's not a competitor that comes in the space and just beats them out. I mean, I guess they have Sam Altman behind it, but still.
Yeah, but if there will be someone that have capacity to produce hardware and distribute hardware to many people, like for example, scooter creators, right? Arduino creator, NFC creators and distributors. You have a lot of businesses that have this ability and have cell phones creators. You have a lot of those type of creators of hardware. I think someone needs to do it because it's a massive,
I think
you know,
Solana should do it with their phones. They should
right,
have a biometric identification system. Then they can just decentralize the whole thing.
right. If they will do it, it will be fucking massive.
Yeah.
But it's interesting exploration for us to look for other people that are doing that, that potentially can do it, because I think someone that will compete WorldCoin can be easily like $1 or $2 or $3 billion market cap, because that's a real business, and this probably is the only approach.
But do you
So
think
that's
it's gonna like end? I mean, for all of humanity, we've had like these Sybil attacks, which proof of humanhood or of identity. Do you think that this solution is actually gonna like end the problem, or do you think it's gonna bring on a new onset of problems in itself?
To be honest, I don't think it's bad. Like you have businesses within Airbnb, meaning clusters of people that are creating everything that was supposed to be peer-to-peer,
Yeah,
like for example, staking was supposed to be mining,
it's not
uh,
anymore. Yeah,
Airbnb, Uber, everything. If you look at how this network behaves, you have clusters of like 20 cabs, 50 cabs, 100 cabs, 20 houses, 100 houses, and then people are doing businesses on top of them. I think if someone is aggregating a lot of people to do iScan and pay them $20, it's not that bad. He's taking the $20, but they're taking the identity. I don't think it's bad. Like it exists in the world in other places. So,
yeah,
I don't think it's bad. Okay, so attestations is the last thing before we move to
no problem.
coprocessors. Okay, attestations is basically the ability to attest that something is something, that this person or this account is bad at this game, good at this game, bad, did that here, attended here, not attended here. And why it's nice? Because it's basically enabling you to have context. It's not only people or not people, but if someone is good at making pizza, if someone good at biz dev, if someone good at anything, like in real life, what you have is that you have a context, like contextual trust.
Yeah, there's no trust or like trustless verification.
Like if you have a friend, that this friend is good at that or bad at that, or
Yeah,
you can count on him on that or not, because you know him. But in the internet there is no such thing. So there is some companies like POAP, like Cliche, like Ethereum attestation service, Polygon ID, Sysmo used to do it. And what they are doing is basically enable people to attest and enable projects to use these attestations APIs and do stuff based on that. Again, very good use case for airdrop. For airdrops, but I think for other things as well. Basically for social media, like if you have a social media that is contextual, and you can filter based on token holders, that or that or that, I think that will be great.
yeah. I think especially for some context, like for me, the piece that was really important is like you can have bots going on Google Maps or any sort of reviewing service, putting crap basically to just destroy competitors or they're just bots. But in reality, you can have social proof now through the use of things. I thought like Polygon ID was actually an interesting use case of this. But now there's so many innovations within the space that maybe like like we were talking about, like Sybil resistance is slowly becoming a reality, and we're able to counter it in terms of building and finding use cases that, even if they're small, like getting rid of a bad review on an ice cream shop in your local area. These do make a difference over time, and hopefully we can, prove that these reviews are contextually real. But yeah, let's hop to coprocessors if you're good with that, Yoni.
Yeah, first, what's your thoughts and take on coprocessors in
I
general,
think,
and then
yeah, I mean, I think that increased capacity in any form, especially if it's off chain, is great. And again, there was a lot of interesting hype, especially like last year. I remember going to Harvard Blockchain's um, conference, and there was lots of talk about, the ZK Snark industry, and where these things are going now. But in terms of the actual like primitive, I think that like what this article is talking about essentially was storage proofs, and just using off-chain data for analysis, but also storing transactions is, I don't see a problem with it. What do you think?
so in general, what's it? First, what is the difference
Yeah,
between coprocessor and rollups? People think rollups are coprocessor because rollups do something off chain,
but it's
and
not. Yeah.
but it's not, because rollup have a state. Like rollup is like a blockchain, and coprocessor is not a blockchain. Coprocessor is something that is taking off chain a task or computation, and brings the result on chain. So you can do a lot of things, but ML applications, but basically anything that is happening inside of a trusted execution environment, this can be done through MPC, or it can be done through something like a trusted computer, like SGX, or it's called trusted execution environment.
Mhm.
And basically, when you have also ZK is kind of a good way to do it. So basically, you have off-chain thing that is happening. You are making the compute off-chain, but in a trusted way, and then providing the result to the blockchain. And it's also anonymous, which is also nice. Okay, now what can be done with it? A lot of things, like what like what WorldCoin is doing is a coprocessor in a way. Machine learning applications that people can make a compute on off-chain data, and then bring the result off-chain. You can verify that a model is run like it's run, or something like that. There is not a lot of like use cases that one can think about.
Wait, there's some stuff though, like Axiom and the bonsai stuff, right?
I mean, Axiom and Risk Zero are ways to do it.
Yeah. They have interesting stuff. Another Axiom. Uh, yeah, it's just about querying like historical blockchain data.
I mean, you can also do KYC with it. You can show that you are inside of this database, that you have a registry, or that you are not inside of this database, for example. You can
Yeah,
prove that you don't have a public record, or that you are. So it's like attestations, but I think higher provability. You can prove that you are that or that alumni. You can prove that you are not a criminal. You can prove that you have that and that. I don't know, grades. What else? What else? What
but
else?
you also don't have to make like cryptographic circuits, I think, for seeing like the like bonsai stuff. You don't have to prove for like Rust contracts or like Rust code that there are not private inputs being put into place, which is an interesting like use case, especially as development becomes more and more spread and globalized, that people aren't interacting with the contracts in malicious ways. But
yeah, for sure. And also sensitive data in general, like basically, health data, but could be a lot of things. Like the
yeah,
millionaire problem, for example, to prove that you are more or less rich than required without showing your the amount of money that you have.
yeah.
Let's see. There is a nice article from the guy that works at Twitral.
Hmm.
This one.
Oh, nice. Maybe we can show
Oh.
it. Yeah, this is what I was just looking at as well. But basically it's just talking about, well, I'm also curious about like the intersection of also storing, like we were just talking about, personal data with TEs and stuff like in enclaves, but maybe we can hop to something, if you're cool with it, Yoni, about oracles as well, because I know that's a hot topic at this point, and especially with things like Chainlink and Chronicle gaining some traction in space. What do you think about the future of using oracles? Besides, like,
So
obviously, like what they're being used for now.
yeah, so I mean, one thing that Oracle that will be one type of Oracle that will be more popular is identity Oracle, like something that tells you about people, like fetch me all the people that did that or did that, that connected, that are from MIT, or did that or did. So I think like right now oracles are mainly used for prices of assets, and I think like information about people under certain groups is a useful use case.
Yeah.
But again, this is the attestations services. By the way, there is another primitive that is now becoming more and more needed, is proof marketplaces. So if you think, what is the meaning of proof marketplaces? So you have all of this abundance of proofs that will be generated by all of the components that we discussed, and then protocols will use these proofs to exist. So so you have demand and supply. The supply will be stuff like risk zero, maybe Axiom, maybe ZK email, maybe a ZK login. They will provide the proofs. They will be the identity kind of providers.
Yeah.
And then the identity consumers will be applications that are using those proofs to exist. For example, applications that distribute tokens in certain conditions, applications that are social media, like a game that only let you play under this and these conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask yourself, what is the proof marketplaces need for? Is that connect between miners, basically validators of those proofs, and applications that needs those proofs to exist. So you have Proven Network, Nil Foundation, Succinct, and Google. I'm not sure how to say this name. Jevulot. And there is another beautiful article called the Decentralized Proving Proof Markets and ZK Infrastructure, also mentioned in the article by DCBuilder.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these proof marketplaces that is also a very nice, very nice primitives that going to be much more
Used. It's application based.
yeah.
Well, Yoni, what do you also think about, like, obviously this is a frontier technology, but there's, especially within the cybersecurity industry, there's lots of threats between quantum resistancy and secureness. What do you think? I mean, some of these technologies like FHE and let me see what these other ones were. You know, yeah, like SMPC, they're quantum safe or quantum resistant. What do you think the mainstream media or the mainstream technology providers are do you think that they're gonna adopt the innovations that from the Web3 space, especially because there's a real use case for this? And as we were talking about, like, it's really the problem that sets on the onset of like technology. And, this could be used in other spaces as well. And if not, like taken from other spaces, like the more traditional cybersecurity space. But what do you think about the future of like
What is, oh,
quantum,
sorry.
like interfacing with these technologies? Like they're either going to become more popular as quantum evolves and becomes mainstream.
Uh, so you're asking about quantum resistance, like SSL is not quantum resistant and so on,
Exactly.
or
Like, do you think that other central or like more centralized entities are going to adopt these technologies because it provides like a sustainable solution, especially with like FHE and SMPC because they're quantum resistant? Or like, what do you think the future is going to look like with uh, quantum technology out there?
to be honest, I'm not like I don't think that is like I didn't pay enough attention to it. Like I don't know like the exact differences, and don't, and I'm not sure about how far or how nearby
Yeah.
um, a full quantum computer that can can make the internet not secure is. But from what I know in general, that SMPC and FHE are quantum resistant, but I don't think it's a big problem as for now.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I think it's like not for now, but like, for example, I went to a cyber conference last year and they're all freaking out about their attack surfaces being vulnerable to like quantum technology, and FHE was a big topic of discussion, but now it's so popularized within, or it's getting popularized or like romanticized within the Web3 space because it has potential to allow people to access and manipulate data without actually exposing the private information, which is a really cool topic, obviously. Um, but yeah, do you want to hop back to some of the other improvements within coprocessors, or how do you want to finish off the episode?
Maybe one thing that we can discuss for a bit is if we know that is new abilities that we have, what type of projects that exist right now in the space can benefit as a result? Like what existing tokens or existing protocols can benefit. So I can give two, and if you have anything in mind, you can add. So I was thinking about ENS
Yeah.
as one protocol that can benefit a lot from expanding the future of ENS to include other types of attestations, other types of information, and to expand the identity set. And was also thinking about the ability of Nexus Mutual to provide an insurance
Yeah.
for people that happen different type of things. Like if Nexus Mutual can prove that someone got liquidated, for example, or something else, I think that can attract a lot of people that got hurt by certain things and will have an insurance. But I feel that those abilities can benefit a
Mhm.
lot of existing protocols that exist. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that also, just like within the realm of like content production, it's going to be critical, especially to see like, first of all, if it's a bad actor creating the content or trying to validate with some other, uh, proof, but also if it's a human creating the content itself within like the ecosystem where it's all driven by content, I think is really important. I'm also kind of just like fascinated with the humanness element and trying to basically monetize the the characteristic of someone being a human. Like I think what WorldCoin is doing is quite cool, but I don't know if it's a solution that's gonna, scale in the next couple of years. But I think, especially this DCBuilder guy is also part of WorldCoin, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the research division. I think like the alpha that we need to further explore is who can be competitors to WorldCoin and use potentially WorldCoin's hardware, open hardware. This
Yeah.
is one type of alpha. The second type of alpha is startups that are doing each of those things. Um, and the third type of alpha, which is maybe the most immediate one, is to explore how these technologies can benefit existing top 200 coins.
Yeah.
I think those three ways we can
Yeah,
research.
I feel like honestly, if you just invert the problem, there shouldn't be a need for implementing new tech, like new hardware. Like I feel like the orb itself is quite cumbersome. And if some big project can just use something that already exists, like existing infrastructure, they will solve the problem. Because it's
Like
just,
what?
I don't know. I'm just saying maybe like a centralized entity and repurposing something else. Uh,
Right.
it's interesting though, because you have like not in it's actually like completely ironic, but you have things like Sesame Credit or these surveillance systems in places where there's dictatorships and censorship that's pretty rampant. Like using that sort of technology, I don't know if that's just through cameras or like even opting in for having your own camera on your computer, validate your identity with or adding just retina scans, like if that's something that's added to other technology, we could have like biometric identification systems, which would be cool. But I don't think that an orb, like getting an orb everywhere, is going to be too practical.
Yeah, exactly. If someone that is already have a lot of devices in front of people, I think he'll be better positioned at
Yeah.
creating this world ID database. It's interesting to find the next one that is doing that. I think
I
that
think
will
it's
be
going to be random because I think a big player is just going to do it. And like I was saying, I think Solana could do it easily. Like they have their phone and they just like, okay, yeah, we're doing biometric identification systems here. Um, and it's like in your pocket.
right.
But yeah, you have any closing remarks, Yoni? Otherwise, I'm gonna finish it off.
Um, no, I think we're good.
Okay, so once again, just as an overview for this episode, we covered the cryptographic primitives, talking about FHE, ZK, and the applications and use cases, but also what we think the near and long-term future of these projects will look like, delving into some alpha opportunities and how to kind of research and investigate within this emerging ecosystem. But it was a pleasure, Yoni, and we'll catch everyone in the ninth episode. Peace.